Eunha arrived in Cambodia with the bright smile of a rising Korean streamer, but beneath that smile, exhaustion and loneliness quietly lived. She was used to millions watching her, praising her, loving her through a screen, yet she never imagined someone would step out of the screen and into her real life. CID investigators would later conclude that the moment she announced her travel plan, the stalker had already booked a ticket. The moment she shared her hotel view, he had already located the building. The moment she smiled into the camera, he had already decided she belonged to him. But Eunha knew none of this on her first night. She wandered through Phnom Penh's night market, streaming the glowing lanterns, sizzling food stalls, and laughing crowds. Her voice was cheerful, but viewers caught subtle moments when she glanced over her shoulder, as if sensing something wrong. CID later slowed the footage and discovered a figure standing just far enough to stay hidden, yet close enough to observe every detail of her face. He never commented in chat. He never interacted. But the chat replay shows a strange silence whenever she passed certain corners, almost as if the viewers felt the presence too. After ending the stream, Eunha walked back to her hotel alone. The lobby was dim, the elevator old and slow. She pressed the button and waited. Behind her, the hotel door opened again, letting in a gust of humid air, as well as the silhouette of a man entering without speaking to the receptionist. Eunha didn't see him. The elevator opened. She stepped in. As the doors were closing, a hand almost touched the edge but withdrew at the last second. CID would later enhance the security footage and confirm that the man was indeed following her. Inside her room, she threw her bag on the bed and checked her phone. A notification blinked. A message request from an unknown sender. She assumed it was a fan. When she opened it, her breath hitched. "You look more beautiful in real life," it said. She frowned but brushed it off. Streamers receive messages like that every day. She turned on the shower, letting hot water ease her tension, but as she wrapped a towel around herself afterward, another notification vibrated. "Don't ignore me. I'm closer than you think." The words didn't feel like admiration this time, they felt like hands reaching out. She moved slowly toward the peephole of her hotel door. Nothing. She checked the hallway camera through the TV channel, but only static played for a few seconds before clearing into a normal view. Too normal. This was the moment CID believes he was already standing just outside the camera's angle. As night settled deeper, Eunha tried to sleep, but the softest sound woke her, the unmistakable noise of breathing, slow and steady, right outside her door. Her heart pounded. She locked the door a second time. Then a shadow shifted under the narrow gap between the door and the floor. She covered her mouth, trying not to scream. She didn't know it, but the man on the other side of that door believed he was watching over the love of his life. And that love, twisted, obsessive, dangerous, was just beginning to tighten around her. Eunha tried to act normal the next day, even though she hadn't slept more than an hour. Her eyes were swollen, her mind foggy, but she forced a smile for the camera. Streamers learn to mask fear, sadness, stress, because the audience always expects a cheerful version of them. She walked along the riverside, the sun warm on her skin, pretending everything was fine. But the live stream captured something her viewers didn't notice at first, a reflection in the window of a cafe behind her. A man, head lowered, face hidden under a cap, standing perfectly still. CID analysts later enhanced the frame and realized he wasn't looking at the camera, he was looking at her. As she continued walking, the chat became unusually restless. Some wrote, "Uni, are you okay?" Others asked why she kept checking behind her. She didn't say it aloud, but panic was already clawing at her stomach. She felt watched. Not just by thousands online. By someone close enough to touch her. She ended the stream early, claiming she needed to rest, but the truth was she could barely breathe from the anxiety. When she reached her hotel room, the hallway was empty. The air felt heavier than the night before, like something unseen was waiting. She knelt down to pick up a small white envelope placed neatly on the floor. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside was a single line written in rushed, uneven handwriting: "If I can't have you, no one will." The paper slipped from her hand. Her heartbeat became a violent drum. That was no fan message. That was a warning. A promise. A claim. CID profiler notes later described this moment as the stalker's psychological snapping point, the transition from silent obsession to violent obsession. Eunha didn't know the clinical terms, but she felt the shift as a wave of dread that made her limbs go cold. She backed away from the door, trying to call hotel security, but the call wouldn't connect. The signal icon flickered. Her phone restarted on its own. The lights in her room blinked once, twice, then the entire floor went dark. Pitch black. She froze. The darkness wasn't quiet. It breathed. Then came the sound that would haunt the CID officers reviewing the audio later, the soft scrape of shoes approaching her door, stopping just inches away. A whisper followed, trembling yet soaked with affection, a voice cracking with emotion. "Eunha, why did you make me follow you this far?" She stumbled backward, knocking over the lamp. Her hands searched desperately for anything to defend herself. The emergency lights in the hallway flickered on for half a second, long enough for her to see a shadow standing outside her door, long enough for CID to capture the frame later, long enough for her to know she was not imagining any of this. He was real. He was near. And he was in love in the most dangerous way. The next few seconds felt like a lifetime. She heard him drag his fingers across the door, slowly, like he was tracing the outline of her name. "Don't run from me," he whispered. "You're all I have." Tears blurred her vision, but fear pushed her to move. She grabbed her bag, slipped into the bathroom, forced open the tiny window, and climbed out onto the ledge. Her legs shook. Far below, the city buzzed with life, unaware that a dark love story was unfolding in the shadows. Behind her, the door handle shifted. He was trying to come in. And Eunha realized she had only one choice left. The sun had barely risen when two fishermen on the outskirts of Phnom Penh noticed something floating near the abandoned riverside warehouse. At first, they thought it was debris washed in by the current, but as they moved closer, the shape became unmistakable. One of them screamed. Within an hour, the Cambodian police had sealed the area. Within 6, CID investigators from Korea were on a flight. The case was no longer a missing person alert. It was now a crime scene drenched in tragedy and obsession. When investigators arrived, the site was disturbingly intimate. Eunha's body lay gently positioned on the cold, cracked cement floor, as if someone had placed her with care. Her hair was brushed away from her face, her hands folded neatly over her chest. Around her were scattered white flowers, wild, fragile blossoms that didn't grow anywhere near the warehouse. CID's forensic botanists later determined the stalker had collected them earlier that morning, likely while the city slept. The flowers weren't a decoration. They were a farewell gift from a man who believed love meant possession. There were signs of a struggle, bruises, broken nails, blood droplets leading to a rusted metal chair. But there were also signs of hesitation, as if the stalker couldn't decide whether he wanted to harm her or worship her. A rope that wasn't fully tied. A knife discarded meters away with no blood on it. CID analysts interpreted this as the internal collapse of a mind torn between desire and delusion. Investigators discovered a phone near her body. It wasn't hers. It belonged to the stalker. On the lock screen was a photo of Eunha smiling during one of her earliest streams. CID recovered the final recording stored inside, a trembling, unstable voice whispering in half confession, half plea. She didn't understand. She was mine. She was supposed to choose me. Now she can never leave me. Now she's with me forever. Those words chilled every officer in the room. Through digital forensics, CID uncovered the stalker's identity, a former moderator of her streaming channel, a lonely, unstable man who had convinced himself that Eunha's laughter, her on-screen affection, her friendly interactions were all messages meant specifically for him. When she traveled, he followed. When she smiled, he believed it was for him. When she didn't reply to his messages, the fantasy cracked, and obsession turned to violence. The warehouse told the rest of the story. Camera wires cut. Broken padlocks. Footprints circling the room again and again, as if the stalker had spent hours pacing, talking to her, confessing, crying, apologizing, convincing himself that what he was about to do was an act of eternal devotion rather than cruelty. By the time the CID team finished collecting evidence, the morning sun had fully risen, casting long shadows across the warehouse floor. Those shadows stretched over the flowers, the phone, the silent body of a girl who only wanted to share her life online, and instead became part of a nightmare. Outside, fans gathered as news spread. Some cried. Some screamed. Some left flowers of their own. An entire community mourned a girl they had only known through a screen, while somewhere in the city, the stalker remained on the run, still convinced that what he had done was love, not murder. And as the CID team sealed the site, one officer murmured the truth that would define this case forever. In the end, it wasn't hate that destroyed her. It was love twisted into something monstrous.